exciting enough to actually get Labor across the line from opposition?
Well, people know what I stand for. People know my values. People know that I'm someone who brings people together. If you look at the reforms I did as Minister over 6 years, measures like the creation of Infrastructure Australia as Australia's first ever infrastructure minister, measures including the creation of Regional Development Australia, the Australian Council of Local Government to deal with local government about their priorities in their local communities, not a command centre in Canberra. They're the sort of reforms that I put in place, working with business, working with unions. I also put in place practical measures based upon boosting productivity, boosting the national economy through our road and rail and ports and broadband investments. People also know about Scott Morrison. Now, there's one area where Scott Morrison did get it right, and that's that Australians do know him. They do know that he said, "I don't hold a hose," when Australia was under the worst bushfires that we have seen. They do know that he said it wasn't a race when it came to purchasing enough vaccines. They do know that he was complacent with regard to ordering rapid antigen tests. They do know that he's presided over almost a decade of flatlining wages and rising prices. And they do know that he has presided over real pressure on their cost of living. And yet he basically thinks they've never had it so good. Well, the truth is Australia deserves better. I'll deliver a better government. We're a great country, but we can be a better government. We can be a better country with a better government.
Scott Morrison keeps criticising you each day as a blank page on policy. How much more policy details are we going to see from Labor during the campaign?
I've got so much. The question for Scott Morrison is, what is his policy that he's taking to this election? Because I haven't seen any. He handed out a budget where all the handouts end once people have cast their ballot papers. There's no policy that he's put in place, and he's the government. He's the government. There's no economic policy going forward in terms of reform. There's no social policy reform going forward. At the last election, he did have policies. National Anti-Corruption Commission that he said he'd implement. Tick tock, the clock's ticking, nothing's happened. He said we'd advance a voice for First Nations people in the Governor-General's speech at the beginning of this Parliament. Again, nothing has happened. On so many areas, nothing's happened from last time. So this time he's going in an election where he's just talking about me.